Here we go, guys. Avengers Endgame is now out in theaters, out in public. The weekend is pretty much over. Let's get into spoilers. I'm here with my brother, Brandon. He's not on camera. We're talking over here. Say hello, review. You can spoil
What's
something.
up?
You want to spoil something?
Yeah.
Spoiler review.
Spoiler review.
Spoiler
if you guys
review.
haven't seen the movie,
Do not
turn
click.
this video
Why did you
off.
click on this video? Just why?
Right.
Also, hold on. Before we get into it, this movie, have you heard how much money this movie made?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
350. It almost beats the record by $100 million. 350 million opening weekend. 1.2 billion worldwide. So I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure everybody has seen this movie. So I mean, I'm not worried about spoiler. No, it's just if you haven't seen the movie, stay away.
Here's what shows a lot. We went to it. We saw it again Friday night,
Yeah.
and I was grabbing my ticket because I had an issue with my A list or whatever. So anyway, I grabbed my ticket, and there was an older couple next to me in line, and they were a bit frustrated because they went to a theater where they have the reserved seating, right?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know that was a thing.
So were they in the wrong seats?
So, well,
Or did
no,
they just go in there and pick
they
us?
went to go get tickets like it was
Oh, like it was
10
normal.
years ago,
Yeah.
like it's normal seats.
like-
Where you stand in line and all of this, and they're like, we don't understand. Why can't we?
Like it's
why
a
don't
free
you
for
have
all for
tickets
seats, you
this?"
know. First one
Right.
there gets a seat. The lines, everything is ridiculous.
Right.
I work at a movie theater, and
That's how big this movie is.
Yes,
is
like
that
hold on.
everyone
here's-
has seen it, and it's not just people who've been going to people who haven't seen a movie since they changed reserved seating
Yeah.
are seeing this movie.
Yeah. So since I work at the movie theater, I was working box office Friday night, right? And I was telling people, like, this is no joke. I was legitimately telling people that we were sold out until Sunday night. If you wanted 3 people together, sold out until Sunday night to where there's no seats, like, to where there's seats further back than the front
Right.
row. There were
Right,
front row
well-
seats up until Sunday at 6 o'clock. Was the
Yeah,
last
and
time.
I mean, no,
It's full.
like think about this. A
It's
week
gone.
after the tickets came up on sale, right?
Mhm.
I was like, oh crap, I need to buy tickets for Friday night because I forgot to
Because you wanted
buy
to see it
them.
again. You
Right.
knew you were going to want to see it again. You had a plan
so-
to see it a
so I
second
looked-
time.
Exactly. So I looked it up, sold out.
Yeah.
And then earlier this week, or no, maybe Thursday night or Friday morning, I was like, okay, well, I'm sure Sunday might have a couple. And so I looked, completely
Gone.
sold out. Everything. Every theater around sold out other than the first row. And I was like, I'm not going to see it in the first row. So
Yeah,
it was
I mean,
just-
when we saw it opening
it
night,
was
we
bizarre.
bought tickets the day the tickets went on sale, and we got stuck in the second row. And we
Right,
were, like, really
right.
trying to get tickets. And it honestly wasn't too bad.
Well, and one thing though, I will say, because Friday night we got lucky, so I guess somehow in an IMAX showing, 6 seats opened up towards the back,
yeah.
just randomly, and I guess they probably just refunded their seats. Maybe they bought it,
That happened
early
a couple
last
times
several
when I
showings.
was working that Friday night. That someone refunded 3 seats towards the back, and
Yeah.
or not 3, just 2 seats. And these 2 kids who really wanted to see the movie, and I felt really bad for them. I literally saw them clear up, and I made sure that no one was like they legitimately couldn't see the movie, so they're refunding the tickets. I sold these 2 kids their tickets, made their day, and they were ecstatic. It was great.
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
and yeah, it's because people bought them so early, and then they just bought extra.
Yeah.
And we just so happened to look at this showing, like, oh, let's just look, and it was there. And we're like,
Yeah, we're going. This,
all right.
This is a movie where, because I got to see it a little bit early, and I wasn't really allowed to say that I saw it early. Like, even in my review, I was able to get my review up Thursday night because I saw it early, and so that means the theater was pretty much empty. There were like 10 of us seeing the movie, and unlike Infinity War when I saw that one early, Infinity War we were going nuts, right? We were screaming and cheering. This time, everybody, like, we had a talk before the movie started, and we're like, okay, I want to listen to the dialogue. I want to hear what's going on. So don't freak out too much, even though we did freak out. Don't get me wrong, we freaked out at several points in this movie, but I gotta soak it in. But still, being able to soak in all that information without the crowd cheering, without the laughs, without anything, just being able to zone in on the movie, you still can't get all the information. There is so much in this movie. It's so incredible that they pulled this off. Like, honestly.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because I know a couple people that the first time they saw it, they're like, well, I think I liked Infinity War better.
See, no, I knew immediately that I
And-
liked this one
and
better.
Immediately I told them, go watch it again.
Yeah.
Go watch it again. Because a couple. So here for example, I have one friend who said, "Well, the reason why I didn't like it. Well, he didn't not like it. He just liked Infinity War better. And the reason why is because he didn't really realize that it was gonna be a send-off movie for the Six.
Yeah.
He wanted more Captain Marvel. He wanted
the new Avengers.
Yeah, he wanted a bit more of the new people, and I was just like, well, see, now that you know what it's about, and
props to the marketing.
This is also a problem with how they marketed the movie.
So good.
You know, they all said like it's a send-off movie, you know, and blah blah blah, but like with the public commercials and all that, they didn't really say that.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of the average moviegoers who saw Infinity War going into this movie, they didn't look at theories or anything like that. They weren't like looking into it too deeply, and they just were like, okay, well, you know, it wasn't. They're not as connected to the Six as much as like say we are, right?
Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest thing is the marketing. What the marketing could have done a little bit better, which I love the marketing, it was perfect for me. But what they could have done a little bit better was just say, hey, it's these Six, and they kind of showed it. And
here's where I'll push back on that. The movie made $1.2 billion worldwide in 3 days.
Well, yeah. But it's not about how much money they made.
And then also,
it's just more about certain people didn't like it as much as they thought they were because of that.
Because the reason why I came out of the movie right away, just absolutely loving the movie and thinking it's better than Infinity War, is because this movie actually had a build to it and actual character development, which you said it's a send-off for these characters. They said it's the end of the Infinity Saga, as they dubbed it a couple months ago. They did it perfectly. They did it beautifully.
Yeah. The stones are destroyed.
The stones were destroyed, yeah. In the beginning of the movie, it literally opens up like a post-apocalyptic, you know, tone and movie. And like I said in my review, there's really 3 tones in this movie. There's the post-apocalypse for the first hour. There's the full time travel wacky nonsense in the second hour. And then there's the full epic finale, just ridiculousness in the last 40 minutes. And it's like a full 3 different tones, but it works because it slowly builds these characters, and the developments and how they played it off was just perfect. So if we just start over at the beginning, first shot is Hawkeye's family despairing. I think we all assumed that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew it was going to happen. We all knew it was going to start that way, but
it still punched you in the gut.
The way, because he didn't see them disappear. Like they were just
turned
gone.
around, they were gone.
Yeah, because he was looking at, you know, his 2 sons and his wife, and all he looks back, his daughter's gone. You can kind of see the dust. He doesn't know, right? That could just be.
And you barely see the dust too,
right? You barely
so
see it, right? And then he turns back around, and his family's gone. Yeah. So he didn't actually see them physically disappear, and that was like the punch in the gut for me.
Yeah, and then followed immediately by the Marvel logo, right? Is that that's when the Marvel logo happened, and then that song, really good song. I actually think that's my least favorite part of the movie was the paper football. It's funny, but like we went from Hawkeye to like dying to this like song, and then they're playing paper football. It was kind of weird to me, and it went back straight to Tony being depressed and skinny and about to die. But that's probably like,
that could have been
considering
a
that
scene.
is my least favorite part of the movie. Everything else is amazing.
Yeah, well, and that could have been a deleted scene instead, and we'll get to this part in a little bit, but instead they could have put a little bit more of Tony figuring out how to do time travel.
I also do think I liked how you put that in just to show the tone of this movie, because this tone isn't completely depressing like it sets up to be, you know? It has fun, you know, the characters are still the characters, and even in that dire situation, Tony Stark was still Tony Stark, teaching Nebula how to play paper football, of all things.
Well, I mean, and after 22 days, you're probably bored.
Yeah.
Like, you can only look into space and think it's so cool for so long. Like,
and that's a very risky way to start your movie, to be honest. How depressing that scene was, and Stark making his little video diaries with his helmet to Pepper. It was just, it just really hits you. Like, the best part of this movie for me, or one of the best parts, my favorite part is probably the character development that they do with Stark and Cap, and even Black Widow and Hawkeye to some extent. But, like, it's really the, I lost where I was going with this, but just the way that they started it with the whole dire situation where you really felt the stakes and the consequences of Infinity War, and they didn't just brush it off. You lived in that world for 5 years. It was great.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the bigger concerns that we both had was don't ruin Infinity War.
They did not.
and no, they did not. And it was a perfect reason to not do it because of Stark's daughter.
Yes.
And that was kind of the reasoning of we're not going back in time. We're not erasing what happened. We're just bringing everyone back.
As soon as Stark said that, it's like I can't. What's that quote? He's like, we need to get back what we lost, but I can't lose what I found. Right. It's that line was so perfect, and their use of time travel in this movie was very interesting because they brought everybody back to 5 years later, which we'll get into that in a bit. But it's just the whole situation that everybody's in. You know, Cap is learning to move on after all this time. You know, he's had to move on before. That's really Cap's like the setting up his story. Him having to move on. He's always had to move on. He never really gets to live, right? And then you set up that Captain Marvel is off saving these other planets, and you also set up that Thanos is gone. Everybody has lost hope. The stones are gone. They kill Thanos in the first 15 minutes of the movie,
which was awesome. Man.
Cheers! I looked over at you while you're watching. Oh, your face.
Well, and I love the line like Rocky was like, "What did you do?"
Went for the head.
Yes, the head.
It's so good. That cheering moment. I knew that we were going to get cheers because we didn't get cheers when the Marvel logo came on or anything before that. That was the first cheering moment, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Or even when Captain Marvel showed up, like no one cheered for that. But as soon as Thor said, "I went for the head," it's cheers. 5 years later. From there on.
And one thing I want to talk about too is when Captain Marvel finds Stark and Nebula, I think some people were confused with
the after credit scene from Captain Marvel,
right, because some people didn't see Captain Marvel. So if you guys don't understand what happened there, essentially the after credit scene in Captain Marvel, because the Fury's device,
his
pager wasn't in Endgame
at all. Yeah, which is surprising to me. I figured that they would do the same thing with Ant-Man and that after credit scene, how they basically showed a scene from Civil War. I thought that's what it was. I thought that would be at the beginning of the movie. But they waste no time with Bearded Cap. Bearded Cap is gone right away. There's no Bearded Cap in this movie.
Right. And essentially, so what happens is they find Nick Fury's device. You can kind of just think of this it's easy to fill in the gaps, right? Yeah,
Captain Marvel says, "Where's Fury?"
Right. Where's Fury? They update her on what happened, that he got dusted. They can't connect. They can't. Maybe they know that Stark. They're getting Stark's messages.
I don't think they're getting the messages. They just know that.
Well, Pepper might have been getting them. Why would he be recording those?
He was recording. He said if you somehow find these.
Okay.
Yeah, what he says. I think they just know that he's gone. He's out there, and how fast Captain Marvel can go between these planets to come help.
She just went to go look.
They're probably on Titan. They're probably near there. They had distress signals probably. She caught them. Yeah. She knew where to look. That's how she was able to bring Stark and Nebula back. Which very, very sweet moment. Like this movie really starts off, I don't want to say slow. I don't like the word slow. It starts off very well paced and just calm. And just it lets you sink into the situation. Just Rocket putting his little paw on Nebula's knee. And just they're the only two left of the Guardians. They're all gone. Right. Just the sense of dread that this movie starts off with. Yeah. While also still having the jokes with Professor Hulk, which you told me about. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Skipping 5 years later.
That was when we were talking about this and trying to,
You might have said it in our Future of the MCU video.
I think I did, and it's because this is what I wanted. I didn't want them to split them. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, because what I was thinking of, because I figured this movie would have a happy ending, and it did in some ways. Some characters had their happy ending, and I figured that Banner and Hulk would split up, and you can still have Professor Hulk. Maybe Hulk can learn and become smart, but I wanted Banner and Black Widow to have their happy ending.
Well, we definitely did not get that.
Definitely did not.
But yeah, I mean that was.
That's why I wanted the split. Though.
That was my guess, and then
it was either split or merge them.
Well, and it's funny because you know how I told you I did get something spoiled to me, but I didn't realize that I got it spoiled to me until I saw it happen in the movie.
What was it?
One of those things was Professor Hulk.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the Funko Pops that I have, and I'm looking at it right now, on the box says Professor Hulk.
Oh, does it really?
Hold on, let me double check.
It's the Hulk from the Endgame set, right? I'm pretty sure he just took off his headphone.
Yeah, no,
Yeah?
it doesn't say Professor Hulk. Where did I
Doesn't?
see that?
I don't know.
Hold on.
The one thing that
Oh, you
I
know
saw...
what? I saw it somewhere. I saw it on one of the Funko Pops. I have the exclusive, so maybe that's why.
Okay, the exclusive said it?
Yeah, well, no, I have the exclusive and it doesn't say it. I think the normal one says Professor Hulk.
See, never
but
look
on
at toys.
one of the toys,
Never.
on one
Like
of the
Lego
toys, it
sets,
says
toys,
Professor.
stay away.
Well, yeah. I mean, and like that, it's just it's hard for this movie. But again, I think we all knew something with Hulk was gonna happen.
See, because they said that Hulk
resolved.
had a 3-film arc that really filled up one movie, right? So Act 1 of Hulk's arc was in Thor Ragnarok. Act 2 was in Infinity War. This was Act 3, the end of that story. Like, Hulk has now progressed. He's fully changed as a character throughout those 3 parts. And I thought they did that brilliantly. I was nervous at first. I thought he looked incredible. It did not take me out of the movie at all. I thought it was a very interesting choice. Not the most interesting choice this movie made. It was funny. Just like him trying to be angry. It's just great.
Yeah.
it's
well, and that introduction to him was perfect, and it was one of those reveals where you were just shocked. Like there were so many reveals in this movie, and literally there was a reveal within like the first hour every like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Because they had to really reestablish what happened after those 5 years. Right. So there's Stark's daughter, you had Professor Hulk, and my favorite part of the movie, Fat Thor, is incredible. Yes. I didn't know I wanted it. I don't. Right. I think if you told me that would have happened, I either wouldn't have believed you or just said that's dumb.
How do you think they thought of that? Is that a comic book thing?
Honestly, because you keep on seeing pictures from Jeff Bridges in The Big Lebowski, how everybody's saying, like, spoilers without context. Like, with the sunglasses, everything looks just like him. I don't know. I don't know if that's in the comics. But him with his, like, braided beard and, the long hair is back, but actually looks better than his old long hair. I don't know.
Okay,
it just works.
Because if it's not, how do you think that came up in the writing room? Like,
I think what happened...
Guys, you know what would be funny? If we made Thor fat.
Honestly, probably. That's probably how it went down. If you guys know any comic storylines with Fat Thor, please give it to me. Like, come on.
Like, how did they think of that idea? And if it's an actual thing, then that's where they pulled it from.
Chris Hemsworth is a very good comedic actor. Like, very underrated comedic. In Ghostbusters, he was probably the best part of Ghostbusters, even though that movie wasn't great. But his comedy chops are amazing. Like, he's really funny. And, like, Taika Waititi knew that with Ragnarok. And Russo brothers just took that and then made him serious. And then, like you said, you kept on telling me that he was going to die. And I kept on saying, no, you can't kill Thor after you finally figure him out. I think now they finally figured Thor out.
Well, and my reasoning was for that was because I thought, basically Ragnarok came out when they were already filming. So they didn't get that reaction. They didn't know that they found a new route with Thor until they were done filming.
I think Hemsworth just knew that he was being underused and was like, I can be more than this, I think I think the studio, Kevin Feige's a genius. Like, he's an actual genius. The way things come to head in this movie. And also the nostalgia, I think we should move on to, like, the Act 2 of the time travel aspect. Because they go nuts. This movie's nostalgia, back, left, right, forward, everywhere. Nostalgia with the time travel. And, like, what they did was really smart. I do think it's a little silly that a rat brought Paul Rudd out of the quantum realm. Yeah. I thought it was going to be the daughter, maybe.
There's I have a few nitpicky complaints.
Yes.
One of mine is how fast Stark got it, and I understand that's probably the
honestly
scene.
I love that line where Stark just like he's like I cracked it, time travel, and it's like I believe it. It's Tony Stark.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And the first time I saw it, like I believed it and it was fine.
I think it still works.
The second time I saw it, I was like, I wish we would have got a little bit more of him figuring it out because I love that Stark.
We still get them messing with time travel and the rules of time travel and talking about okay, here is how it worked in movies before.
They explained it beautifully.
They did it. I do think you can really nitpick the crap out of this movie with their time travel. I don't think it's perfect. It's definitely
like
nowhere near the
best
use of time travel. I still think the best use of time travel is Arrival. But this one did it very well. They knew they had issues with it. They just kind of explained it away very quick, which is some of the lines that I missed the first time after watching. But like the way they used it, of it being changing the past doesn't change your future, right? That is the most important thing in time travel in this movie. Is like no matter what they do in the past, it's not going to change their future and their present life that they already lived in before.
They would create other timelines.
Yes, they were not going to ruin anything in the past MCU, so everything before Endgame still is intact for the most part, and everything afterwards is how it is at the end of this movie. So they did the best job they could, honestly.
Yeah, and I honestly, like in any time travel movie, you can nitpick it like that.
Yes. They make fun of Back to the Future, which the time travel in Back to the Future doesn't make sense if you think about it too hard. It all falls apart. Same thing with this movie, but like they knew it. They were aware of it. They were as careful as they could, and the storylines that they got with it, Cap fighting Cap. Just going back to New York, the ancient one, being in New York, fighting the Chitauri with them, just off on the side hiding.
Well, and that's a question. That's something that people bring up sometimes is like when Doctor Strange came out and they're like, well, where were they?
She was there.
She was there, and they fill in some plot holes, and it's really interesting how they do it, and that's one of the plot holes. You're seeing her just on the side, not joining the fight, just kind of helping them out when they can or when she can. It's brilliant, and it's really cool to see her talk to Bruce Banner about time travel and bringing out like, here's a timeline. And if you take this
every time travel movie has that. They draw a line on like a whiteboard. They draw like a loop around. It's like, this is time travel in this movie. And this one had it with the ancient one, that like stream of magic or whatever it was.
But it's a perfect way to explain it because when they were talking about it, when Bruce Banner was trying to explain it to the other Avengers, I was kind of following along, but not really because it was so much. And then when that scene right there really helped me out because it was also kind of a visual too of like, here's the line, here's the time stones. You take this out of my timeline, you create a new timeline, and you ruin my future, right? And then he was like, okay, well, what if we bring it back in the exact same spot before that timeline is created? And
it'll destroy that timeline, and everything will move on as it was.
Right. And so it was explained so perfectly with that, where it was like, okay, I'm in, I believe it, let's go.
Yeah, they set up the rules very well.
Right.
And they also struggled a lot. Like that montage of them trying to figure out time travel with baby Paul Rudd and the old man Paul Rudd is great.
And Stark was like, you turn him into baby.
Yeah. I thought all that was very well done. I want to talk about Captain America versus Captain America. There's another thing I never even thought that would ever happen.
I can do this
I
all
didn't
day.
know I wanted it.
I know.
Yes, that is incredible. I don't know, man. I just that entire hour section in the middle is so just nuts. They took this time travel thing and they had fun with it, which is what I said in my review. This is something that I was being very vague about, but it's like they do certain like storylines in this movie and they run with it, with like Cap saying Hail Hydra to the shot in the elevator, which looked identical to Winter Soldier. They went back to Thor: The Dark World and made Thor: The Dark World better.
Right.
You just imagine Fat Thor walking around every corner when you watch that movie, and it just, it's great. It's great. That conversation with I can call him Fat Thor, with the conversation between Fat Thor and his mom is probably my the most beautiful moment one of the most beautiful. Like, I can't say the most. There's no the most beautiful moment in this movie. Like, the conversation with Stark and his dad was powerful.
That's my favorite.
Is that yours?
Well, my favorite scene is obviously probably everyone's favorite scene is at the end. But my second favorite scene, I loved Stark in this movie. And I think everyone listening who's listened to our podcast before, my favorite superhero is Spider. My favorite MCU character is Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah. See, Thor's my favorite. That's why I love that moment with his mother.
Yeah, and Thor is growing on me. I didn't love the movies, and so that's why that guy. I think it's not that I I don't know, something about Stark, not necessarily him in the suit, but just him.
That's why I love Iron Man 3. Like, I do think Tony Stark was the best he ever was in Iron Man 3. But I think I just
love his character. I love his arc. I love his story.
Something you can really get behind.
It's just something about him. It just connects with me. And so to see to see that in 1970, him meeting his dad or being able to see his dad, and it's funny when he realizes, oh yeah, I'm actually being born right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's how he knew, because remember Cap and Stark were talking. It's like, I know it's this day. I know that they're around there because that's when I was born. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect.
But
And...
him with a mullet.
Right.
That whole sequence was so good. Like
that
Cap
whole
seeing
1970
Peggy.
sequence was perfect.
Young Stan Lee. That was cool.
Yeah,
They
yeah, you got to
Stan
see.
Lee.
You know what's funny? I missed him the first showing.
You did?
After the movie, I was like, "What the heck? I missed Stan Lee."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "When was Stan Lee?" I had to ask.
Yeah,
I
caught it right away. I was like, "Oh, that's
when
great."
was he?
Because on the back of the car said "Enough said." It's like, yeah, that's Stan Lee. Another thing that I thought was really smart with what they do with the time travel is figuring out where the stones are going to be at what times. It's like just realizing that there are 3 stones in New York at once.
Oh yeah,
pretty smart. And that's before they lost the Tesseract. Which, another thing with Loki, that sneaky son of a bitch took the Tesseract.
Your question, or there's your answer.
God,
for Disney
that
Plus.
Loki show, yeah. And also, with, obviously Guardians 1, they went to 2014. 2 stones in 2014. They went to Vormir, and they got the Red Skull. And man, Hawkeye and Black Widow had to fight it out to see who was going to sacrifice themselves. Yeah. Oh,
well, and that's another. It's funny. That's another one where that was spoiled to me, because of Hawkeye's TV show, that was announced about a week before we saw the movie, and so when
I don't think that was
came
necessarily
out,
spoiled because
right away. Well, to me, right away, I was like, Black Widow's going.
Mm-hmm. When you saw them going.
Yeah, when I saw they were the pair, because that was the biggest question I had is because I wasn't sure if the plot was going to be... That was the one question, too. That was the big one, was what's the plot of this movie?
Like, when...
The plot of it is to go back in time and get the stones.
Yeah.
And my question...
I always thought they were going to go back to the end of Infinity War, when they already had all the stones, but then fight Thanos there. But fighting Thanos with all the stones is impossible. You can't beat that.
So my biggest question was like, well, how do you get the Soul Stone?
Yeah.
And so that was my only reason that to ever say that the plot of them going back in time and getting the stones wasn't gonna happen, because how do you do that? Like,
and that scene was also beautiful.
Honestly, it is, and it was perfect how they did it. A great send off for Black Widow. Her arc was done. I
think what worked so well in that was because we're getting that Black Widow movie, which I am ridiculously excited. I was saying, like, they're really teasing this Budapest thing. We're like, oh, we're a long way from Budapest now. They're going to go back to Budapest, and you're going to see how Clint's Hawkeye really saved Black Widow from that life. And she said, like, I did terrible things, and nobody was, or like Hawkeye was saying that I've done these terrible things, right? And nobody's going to look past that. And then she said to him, you look past that for me. Yeah. And it's like, and
so that's what we'll get in the Black Widow movie.
We're going to get Hawkeye in there. I love what they're doing with Hawkeye. I loved when he was going up at the end with the rope and he was using the sword. Fantastic. So good. He got a really good arc in this movie, honestly.
Well, and the Disney Plus show for him will be...
teaching his daughter.
Not
just that, but like his family would probably know. And that conflict with his family after knowing what he did in that 5 years, fascinating. It's really interesting, really cool.
Well, and that would be a big question of where they go from here, because everyone who got dusted came back the same age that they got dusted. Everyone has moved on 5 years. Yeah, and that's gonna be a big plot in every movie. Yeah,
and then just they got the stones, they got back. Black Widow is dead. Another really great, also, this is going on Twitter, which I think is hilarious. The best times to go to the bathroom. The first one, oh gosh, I don't remember the first one, but the second one was as soon as all the Avengers get back to the facility, that's when you go to the bathroom. I think the first one is when you see it raining in Tokyo, is the other time you go to the bathroom. So there's 2 bathroom points in this 3-hour-long movie. Right. But everything else, I didn't even say that scene where they get back to the facility is so good. And when they get the stones, they put it on the Iron Man gauntlet, which is already cooler than Thanos' gauntlet. Right. And the only person that can handle that, Thor probably could have taken the hit from that.
Not Fat Thor, though.
Not Fat Thor. Fat Thor, no. Well, Hulk took it, and that entire scene where they snapped, you got the call from Hawkeye's wife, and you see the birds in the trees, they're back, and it's just Thanos' ship goes up, There's like the 2 Nebula thing going on. The ship comes up out of the thing and just
and that's how you bring
blows
in
up the
Gamora.
facility. Yes, another thing before this movie, I said I did not want them bringing back Gamora. I thought they did it well.
That's the only way.
I thought they did it well. I'm fine with that.
Yep, that was the only way they could do it.
They brought the whole army with them. Gamora was in that army. Makes
now
sense.
here's the only thing though. How come she didn't get dusted?
What do you mean?
When Stark at the end, when he dusts all of Thanos' army, how did Stark know?
I think Stark, he didn't know. It's get everybody with Thanos out of here. I think that was his motivation. And Gamora wasn't with Thanos. She never was, if you think about it. She was never with Thanos.
Because at that point she was turning. Yes. Because that's the beginning of Guardians. So at that point she has already decided
to betray Thanos. She just didn't know how or when.
Because of the Soul Stone. She already knew where the Soul Stone was at that point, and she wasn't telling Thanos.
Yeah. So I thought they did that well. The fight, everything before the portals, that was all great. Like the three big characters, you got Stark, Cap, and Thor fighting together against Thanos. That was great. And then the biggest cheering moment probably of the movie was when Cap picked up that hammer and using the hammer to hit the shield to knock out Thanos, and just it's beautiful.
One of my favorite lines. I knew it.
Yes, I knew it. So good. Fat Thor's the best. And Thor like dual wielding the hammers when he went back to Thor: The Dark World and he stole the hammer from probably himself, which I kind of wish they cut too.
I want to see a deleted scene of normal Thor or like of Dark World Thor like
holding the hammer, like marching,
seeing his hammer get picked up and leaves, and he's like, "What the heck?"
Deleted scene. Please let that be a deleted scene. That'd be so funny. But dual wielding hammers, and then of course Cap went back, brought the hammer back to that moment.
Right. But it's funny. I missed that in the first movie, and so after the first time I saw it, I was like, "Wait." Yeah. Thor screwed up a timeline. And then when I saw it again, I'm like, never mind.
Like part of me, when he was going back, I was like, can you imagine another Captain America movie with him with the hammer and the shield? That would have been cool. But of course, let's go, before we get to that, the portals come in, the music, incredible. Absolutely fantastic. I loved the musical cue.
The first 3 to come out, Black Panther,
Shuri, and OKOYE. All came out through the portal.
And then the Guardians.
And then the Guardians, and then Wong was like, "Did you want more?" Valkyrie on her horse. You had Pepper with the suits. That was cool, and they even teased that. It's like, "Oh, Mom never wears anything I buy her."
Right. Well, that also got spoiled to me.
Yeah. See, I didn't find any of those spoilers.
Well, no, but like the reason I'm calling this, it's like fake spoil, or it's like spoilers that you didn't know were spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers without context, really. But,
yeah, pretty much.
And it's nothing too big to really complain about. Like if you did get something spoiled,
I just think
movie,
it's funny.
That's rough.
Like it's funny to me.
Yeah. But that was when everybody, and they're like playing the handoff with the gauntlet, trying to run away from it. Hawkeye does that thing with the swords and the tunnels. That's so good. Giant Man punching one of the Chitauri like monster things out of the sky.
Yeah, that was cool.
So good. And then when the ship starts, firing the missiles at them, and then
in the middle of all that,
they're called the wizards.
In the middle of all that, the whole war. Well, actually, first off, Avengers Assemble was awesome.
Yeah, that was a big cheering moment. And then it like pans out Thor with his axe, Cap with the hammer and the shield. And the whole diving moment, it's so good. I've listened to that.
But then in the middle of all the fighting, Stark gets kind of beat down, and in comes Spider-Man, and they hug it. And that hug, that was
really
one thing. It's funny because one of the first things I thought about with Stark here, he got his moment with everybody. And it was a really special movie for him as a character. Yeah. And it's funny. My immediate thought was Star Wars. How we didn't get that moment with Han Solo or with Luke.
With Han, Luke, and Leia. Yeah.
Like we didn't get any of those moments, and Avengers they did it so perfectly. Where with Stark, and
which like if they killed Stark in Infinity War, big mistake.
Right.
Big mistake. Because you have to have that moment between them.
He got his moment with Cap. He got his moment with Pepper.
Also, you know what they did? You know what they did very well is they didn't let Cap and Stark make up right away. You know, Stark comes
Right.
back in the ship at the beginning. He's like, I couldn't beat him, and Cap wants to make amends, right? He's like, I couldn't beat him either. But Stark is just not having it. It's like, it really was. They were apart. Maybe if they were together, they could have succeeded.
Yeah.
But in Infinity War,
so,
they weren't together. And then them all, like, literally everybody in the MCU is in this movie besides who? Besides Coulson and who was the other one that wasn't in it? I forgot. There's like
I was
two
trying
people.
to think. Yeah, there was like it was Coulson.
Coulson and Odin. They're the only two people that are not in this movie. Everybody else, Selvig had his picture there. You had Natalie Portman was in this movie. You had Happy, you had Pepper. You had everybody was in this movie. Corrigan Meek.
Yeah.
Like, come on. You know I was cheering when Korg popped on screen playing Fortnite. Oh, you bet I was freaking out when that happened. But
yeah, it was fantastic, and I'm just so glad that Stark got his moment.
Everybody had a moment. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he got his moment with every single one, and it's funny as all that was going, it was so obvious. Like the same time, I was like, oh, it was so obvious that they were killing him off.
Yeah,
because he got his moment with everyone. Like Cap, his dad. It was so
such
good
a perfect
and
send-off.
Right, it was a perfect send off, and obviously, Peter getting the gauntlet, and then one of the coolest shots in the movie was all the women superheroes in the MCU getting together.
Also, another thing that was kind of spoiled that we didn't realize was a spoiler when Tessa Thompson was talking to Kevin Feige, and she's like, "When are we getting a female Avengers movie? We can do it." And everybody on the internet was like, "Oh, there's not enough." Are you kidding me? Did you see that group?
Enough.
Come on, that was like 12 characters right there, and they're all worthy of having either their own movies or
when we do a Phase 4 video.
Yes.
When we do a Phase 4 video, I got another.
You got another one from that group?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be fun. But that shot was absolutely incredible.
Protecting Peter Parker. Captain Marvel they also used Captain Marvel really great in this movie. Yeah, she was gone for the majority of the movie. But when she came back,
there's reason. You give good reason.
Yeah, and like her fight, I'm so glad that when she was fighting Thanos, yeah, she held up her own. But when Thanos grabbed that Power Stone and punched her with it,
yes. It was awesome though when Thanos went to headbutt her and nothing happened.
That was great.
Just like, you're like,
needed the Power Stone to punch her away. Yeah, and also another thing that I think is amazing, which I still don't like saying this out loud. Like anything spoilers, I'm using this as a kind of a therapy session. Let's get it all out. Tony Stark is gone, but what did it take to kill Tony Stark? It took 6 Infinity Stones.
Yeah. Well, and
it took 6 Infinity Stones.
That was incredible.
And they set that up too. It's like, oh, only certain people can handle this. Like with Thanos, the second time he snapped, it almost killed Thanos. Yeah. And like Hulk, it ruined his arm. And it's like, yeah,
and I love what they did with Doctor Strange when Stark is like, okay.
And he's like pointing up.
Yeah. Well, is this it? You know, is this the one? And he's like, if I told you, it wouldn't happen. And the reason why is because Stark dies.
Yeah.
If Stark knew what he had to do, he would have hesitated. He would have done something else.
I think he knew that it had to happen before he took the stones back. He's like, this is going to get me. I'm the only one who can get these stones away from him because that's my gauntlet. That's my suit. If I connect with him, he can steal those stones right off of Thanos' gauntlet. Right. Very smart. Very good moment. The I am Iron Man snaps his fingers, decimates everybody from Thanos' army. Thanos gets his comeuppance. He's dusted himself, which I thought was very good that he did not have a line. Because, you know, when they were holding on him before he disappeared, he just sat there in defeat.
And his last line was, I am inevitable.
Inevitable.
Right. And then Stark, obviously, comes back with, I am Iron Man.
A little bit slow. I wish they just kind of did I am Iron Man snap instead of I am Iron Man.
I mean, yeah,
it
but
works.
Think about it. That's the last words he ever said.
No, it's not his last words.
Right?
No, I think he says something to Pepper and to...
I don't think he could get something out.
Does he not?
I don't think he was
I need to see this movie again. I thought he did.
I don't think so. I think that was the last word he ever said. Think about it. The last word Stark ever says is Iron Man.
Yeah. I'm glad Pepper, because obviously Spider-Man went up to him as he's dying.
Yeah,
he got out of the way for
coming out from behind trying to move.
Yeah. Also, probably the first time I watched it, I didn't get too emotional. I didn't tear up. I teared up a little bit when everybody came out of the portal, so that was just beautiful. But the part that got me the most was Happy talking to Morgan about the cheeseburgers. That killed me.
Yep, that's what I was just about to say. That's the one that got me.
And then
he has a cheeseburger. Like the first thing.
First thing he got back from those caves, he wanted a good
He wanted
American
a
cheeseburger. He got that cheeseburger. Oh man, it's rough. It's rough, this movie.
And obviously the getting to the end here, you got the funeral, you got the kid from Iron Man 3 in the funeral,
cool.
which was
also
really
I knew,
cool.
which is funny because I heard that he was going to be in the movie, and when I got into the movie, I completely forgot about everything, any speculation, anything. It's like another reason why a lot of those things that were technically spoiled, I didn't care, because while I was watching that movie, I was so zoned in, I forgot about all that. None of that mattered, because I was just in this movie, I was zoned in, I was just like focused in on it, and then that kid in the funeral in the back, that teenager. I bet a lot of people won't know who he is, but yeah, that's the kid from Iron Man 3.
Same actor.
Yeah, same actor. Grew up.
And then obviously you got the hologram of Stark.
Saying goodbye. That was really cool.
Yeah, saying goodbye. He's gonna be back throughout the MCU as that.
I don't think maybe like one like good pep talk to Parker. I bet he made a couple. I think Parker. Like if I succeed and if you're back. Welcome back, kid, or whatever. No, it's like you go. Maybe that's how Spider-Man opens.
Well, the only reason why I think he's gonna be, they can make him an AI, or he's already done it, because we saw Jarvis.
We did see Jarvis. Was that Paul Bettany?
We saw Jarvis. I have no idea. I was trying to look in the second time I saw it. I was trying, but I couldn't tell.
Because then that's another thing that I was shocked that they didn't do. They did not bring back Vision. Which is interesting. I do want to, when we do a Phase 4 video, we're definitely going to talk about that WandaVision show, which is very interesting how they're going to do that. But they did not bring back Vision. The Loki, gosh darn it. They brought back Gamora, but everybody else before the snap, they're done, which is cool.
But the last bit of that was awesome. And then...
Of course, Cap got his happy ending.
And then Cap, and it's funny, we both called it. Like,
yeah, we did.
It was the only way you could send off Cap.
Which, like, try watching the first Avenger now after all of this, right? I still have not. I heard some people tweeting out that they watched Iron Man again, the first Iron Man, and they just hit them, you know. And watching the first Captain America, which I think is an underrated movie. That movie is so good. And when Cap says, like, or when Peggy says, I'm holding it to you, I'm going to get that dance, or whatever she says, and the last shot of the movie is Cap getting that dance with Peggy. I think that's one of the best final shots of any Marvel movie, besides probably the Spider-Man Homecoming.
It's funny when the second Hulk, Professor Hulk, the second he counted down and he didn't come back, Bucky knew. Yeah. Like and it was so good.
And they passed on that mantle to Falcon, which also another question for that Phase 4 video is that Falcon and Winter Soldier show. Is it really called Falcon Winter Soldier? Or is it called Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
That would be interesting. If will he call himself Captain America?
I don't know. I think he might keep the I don't know. Because like you can't get rid of his wings. He doesn't have superpowers either. Right. So he's not a super soldier.
Right.
I wonder how they're
that
going
would
to do
be interesting. There's so many questions but
also so many questions. But this movie really did wrap up the Infinity Saga. Part of me wants to just not watch anymore.
It's set up Phase 4.
How are they going to go past this? Like, how in the world are they going to top this movie? I don't think it's possible. Another thing, I have the Dark Knight poster up right now because there are some movies, like once in a generation, there's a movie that comes along that will never be topped, like Jaws. No shark movie's ever going to top Jaws. Star Wars. No movie's ever going to beat Star Wars in that like sci-fi epic, space opera adventure, right? No movie's going to top that. And this movie, I don't think another movie in the next generation will be as impactful, as climactic, like everything coming together so beautifully. I don't think any movie can ever do that again. I think this is easily my favorite in the MCU. In my review, I said I almost said that it's not my first, not my number one movie, and I hesitated. I was like, I'm not gonna say that yet. And after second view, I'm like, I'm glad I said that because it is my favorite. Yeah. I thought it was so well wrapped up. Man, it's just
what's your rating of the movie?
Rating of the movie? Here's the thing. It's like you can nitpick the crap out of this movie, right? The time travel stuff with the Loki. What is that gonna mess up? I guess to just create another timeline that Loki can just mess around with. There's like Star-Lord getting knocked out. You can nitpick about that. A bunch of stuff with the time travel stuff, right? But it's so inconsequential, right? None of it really matters because this movie did so well with character development, with the story, the way that they handled it, and the build, which is amazing how it started off as such an apocalyptic, quiet, calm movie, and just built and built and built to an epic finale with great send-offs to every single character. Every character who was not dusted in Infinity War had an arc in this movie. Hawkeye had an arc. Black Widow had an arc. Everybody had somewhat of an arc. Yeah, Thor, who has changed ridiculously since the first Thor movie in so many ways.
Yep. Even Valkyrie.
Valkyrie got an arc.
She's queen.
She's queen of Asgard. She's going to get a movie now. But everything just came together so well. I literally don't think that they top this. I don't like giving ratings to movies. I like ranking them. I don't like putting a number to it because obviously this isn't a perfect movie. I can't give it 10 out of 10. But I mean, what do you want me to do? It's my favorite.
Well, and that's the thing. For me, I would. It's as perfect as they could have gotten it.
Yeah.
I don't think they could have. Yeah, I don't think they really could have done anything else.
Mm-hmm.
The only and they said there's I know I saw an interview with them. They said there's about maybe 2 to 5 minutes of deleted scenes. That the reason why this movie was 3 hours long is because they left everything in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had to.
I literally can't think of a single thing they can cut out besides maybe the paper football thing and the taco thing.
The taco is hilarious.
It's so funny. It's really kind of it's showing all the Avengers coming together.
The only thing I would have wanted more, and it's funny, I want more. It wasn't too long. It didn't feel like
went by
3
really
hours.
Fast because of that build. The momentum this movie had is because of that.
The only thing I wish I got to see more of Stark figuring out time travel.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that's a deleted scene. It just looks like it. It looks like there should be more to it.
I think it wouldn't. I don't think that would have worked for me because Stark found his family, right? He found his life that he had been desperately needing, right? He moved on, and I think if he tried and it failed, I don't think he would have kept on trying. I think he would have stopped. He's like, okay,
but the way
I'm just
he
gonna mess
said
with this
it,
once.
No,
and
because the way
he said one more test. Yeah, he did say one more test.
Yeah, he said he had tested a couple of times. But think about his technology. It's not like he has to work at it, and test. Like it's
he just
pretty much automated. So he just tells Friday what to do, and it's easy for him. And it just takes a lot of trials. And I wish, because that's my favorite part of Stark is the technology aspect, him creating new tech, him figuring things out. I love that. That's that's the reason why, like, Iron Man 2, one of my favorite parts of that movie is him figuring out
the new element.
The new element. I just love that version of Stark.
Schmodown, what's that element called?
Like the first like the first Iron Man, when he's building a suit and figuring all that and all the tests and all of that.
You love those montages.
Yeah, so I wish we could have got. I bet that's a deleted scene, but other than that, I mean, there's no part where I would want to miss.
They can turn down the Fortnite product placement.
Well, what's funny is they could throughout the years they could even change that.
Yeah, they could. Yeah,
which is hilarious. But yeah, there's some unnecessary scenes, but those unnecessary scenes are those funny moments.
Yeah, they're either the moments that lighten up the movie, or they're so quick that it doesn't matter. It's like, and also that whole Fortnite scene was very important. It was showing the state of Thor after all these years, and it really worked. It showed his downward spiral that he went through that they kind of skipped over. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have taken anything out. I wouldn't have changed a single thing in this movie. I loved it. It's easily one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, if not the greatest comic book movie. I know The Dark Knight's my favorite movie, but this is a full-on comic book extravaganza. I don't think anything can possibly top this. I don't know what the MCU is going to do. We are going to do a Phase 4 video soon, and we're going to talk about what we think Phase 4 is going to be, what movies are going to be in there. I get an idea.
I have the next... Obviously, we have Spider-Man, which is going to technically end Phase 3.
Yeah.
Is what they said. I got 2020, 2021 figured out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make a list of my own. We'll do that video soon here. But yeah, that was Avengers Endgame. I think it's a spectacle. It's amazing. Is that your favorite of the MCU?
Yes, easily. It's they perfected it. It was the only way you could do that movie. They did it. It was a perfect 3 hours. There's not a moment where it slowed down to me. My going into it, I was like, okay, here's how I'm gonna judge it. If it feels like 3 hours, it's not the best.
Mm-hmm.
If it feels like 2 hours, then they did it, and
Yeah.
it felt like an hour and a half to me. Like,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
they,
so good.
like my
I can't stop thinking
expectations
about this
were.
movie.
I had such high expectations for Star Wars Episode 8,
Mm-hmm.
and it crushed me, right?
Yeah.
And I tried to lower my expectations for this movie. I could not.
Mine were over the
I
roof
had-
because I was
I had-
skeptical. I had that worry that they could have ruined Infinity
I had a
War.
concern.
I
I
did
had
have
a
a concern,
concern, but at the same time, I had such high expectations. The fact that they passed that for me, it's as perfect of a movie as they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's incredible what they did. I cannot. I'm nervous about the future of the MCU because, like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think they could ever top this. But if they do, here's to them because Kevin Feige is a genius. What they've done with this franchise is incredible.
Yep.
I love this movie. That's our spoiler review, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you stayed through all of it, comments, Fat Thor's the best. I don't know. Maybe you'll just do that on your own. But he really is the best. Also, hold on, as Guardians of the Galaxy, I called that. I so called that.
Yes, you did.
I know I said that in that one video, and like I was so on board with that. I'm so glad. Oh,
What makes it even better though is it's
Thor.
Fat Thor.
it
It's
is
not
Fat
normal
Thor.
Thor. It's Fat Thor.
Normal Thor wouldn't have fit with the Guardians, to be honest. But Fat Thor, he's one of the Guardians.
He is definitely one of the Guardians.
That movie's gonna be incredible. I can't believe we just have to wait 3 years for that because of the whole.
You know,
that
you know
would've been
how
next year. You know
Rex
that?
makes fun of Star-Lord for being fat?
Yeah,
Yeah, no. Not anymore.
that was setting it up. They knew.
They knew.
They
That's
knew.
going to be a joke.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Stay tuned on the channel for the Phase 4. Can't wait to do that. And I hope you guys love this movie as much as you do. Also, full spoilers in the comments. Go nuts. Tell me if you guys like this movie or not. If you didn't like this movie, you probably weren't a fan. Because I literally don't think, if you are a fan of this franchise, there's no way you don't like this movie. It's impossible.
Yeah.
If you like these movies, you will love this movie. I do think that's 100% guaranteed.
I think one of the biggest gripes from people is, like, they wanted to see the others.
Yeah. But, I mean, hey, we'll get that. This is for sure
exactly.
not
You
the
got
last
the
Avengers
next
movie.
You got the next decade with these characters.
And not only, like, honestly, every single character from the original 6 is either gone now or is completely different. Like, Fat Thor is not that same Thor, right? He's a new character.
right, and Hulk is completely
a
different.
completely different character. So if they're in these new Avengers movies, they will still fit in.
And
they'll feel
essentially-
completely new.
Right, and essentially Hawkeye's gone.
Yeah. And, like, I think he works better on TV. Like, have an Arrow type show. That'd be cool. I'm
right,
excited
and
for that.
that show
The
is a
Black Widow movie,
send-off.
Mhm.
So he's gone. Stark is obviously gone, but he'll be kind of, you know, here and there.
Black Widow's gone.
Captain America, I bet we see
Old
him
Cap,
a little
yeah.
because he's technically alive.
He is alive. They didn't kill
So
him.
he'll be in a TV show
Maybe.
with Bucky and you know, because
He might make a
even though
cameo.
their contracts are over, doesn't mean they can't be in the movie, guys.
I think it'd be fine. Like I think Chris Evans, like he's done with as Captain America, but I don't think
But
he would mind coming in to be old
Exactly.
Cap for just like
Cameo.
1 minute. Yeah, just a little
the
cameo.
one movie he's most known for is Spider-Man: Homecoming, so why not?
Inside joke. Nobody will understand that. If you somehow have the movie, what is it called? Push.
I don't know.
I think it's called Push. If you have
we
that
never
movie
watched
Push,
it.
read the description in the back. Chris Evans from Spider-Man: Homecoming. Oh boy, that's it. Video's over. Let's wrap this up. Tell me how you guys thought of the movie. I loved it. You loved it. That's the MCU. That's the Infinity Saga. That's Avengers Endgame. See you guys in the next video.